Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today we are diving in yet again into the family reunion. Petitioning for your family members to come here into the United States if you are a US citizen or a green card holder or permanent resident. Now this is gonna be, I think, a third or fourth video in the series. So if you're just now, if this is the first video that you're watching on this channel and you're in the process and you want to know more, make sure to watch the previous videos that I've made, because I go through in detail how to fill out the I-130. I have the video specifically on filling out the I-130, all the ways that you can do it online, on paper, and then further into the process, what happens when all your documents are approved by USCIS and then transferred to the NVC, and basically everything in detail. And to kind of briefly go over the process, I have in front of me the uscis.gov website open, which is right here. All the links will be in the description below. Now the form that I'm talking about is form I-130, and I'm gonna show it to you here just so that you have the general idea. Petition for alien relative. This is what we are talking about. And as you can see, there is an option to file this one online. Now in this video specifically, we will talk about the process where your case is approved by USCIS, it's transferred to the NVC, and then NVC accepts all your documents, all your fees, everything that you have submitted as a sponsor for your beneficiary, whoever you're sponsoring to come here, your family member. And then that case is transferred to the local US embassy. Basically everything is set up for the interview, and in this video we will talk about the interview itself. Yes, and I have this very handy graph in front of me. Again, the link I will put in the description below, but it kind of illustrates the process in general. You're submitting the petition, once it's approved by USCIS, transferred to NVC, which is basically Department of State's internal platform for handling cases like this. You pay all the fees, you submit all the supporting documents, financial documents, online application, civil documents. Once everything is submitted, there's the interview preparation. Okay, one thing that this graph I wanted to mention here before we start talking about the actual interview does not mention, this graph right here, is the medical exam. And medical exam is going to be scheduled beforehand, before the interview. Once everything is approved by Department of State, they will request the beneficiary to go through that medical examination. And if you yourself are an immigrant, you already are familiar with that medical examination, because for your permanent residents, you had to go through it. And again, I have a separate video on the medical examination if you want to learn a little bit more. But basically it's the same exact process as it happens here in the US, just it's going to be the authorized clinic by US government in the foreign territory, right? So in whichever country. But I'm gonna go briefly through all of that, and I will show you the examples, because I do have some embassy examples open just so that you have an idea. But once you do get through that medical examination, then you will have your interview. Usually they are kind of scheduled together, so your interview is scheduled, for example, let's say today is January 4th. Your interview is scheduled for February 4th, and until February 4th you have the whole month to do that medical examination. Now, a very important recommendation that I can give you here is to try not to wait to the last moment. Try to get your medical examination done as soon as possible before the interview, because the certain documentation that doctors have to do, there is time that they have to transfer it to before whoever in the embassy gets it. So make sure it's done beforehand so that there's enough time between the completion of the medical examination and the actual interview. Okay, so what does the interview finally, right? We're getting in this video. There's a lot, it's a big process. But what does the interview entail? Okay, so basically the interview is going to be a little bit different than your regular non-immigrant visa interview. And as an example, I have an embassy, U.S. embassy in the Philippines pulled up. Now, I'm not from Philippines. I have friends from Philippines, but I've never been to this website. I just want to give you an idea of how fairly simple it is to find all the information, and again, I'll put all the links in the description below. But whichever country you're from, right, you can find your U.S. embassy in your own country, as long as U.S. embassy exists in your country. Sometimes it does not, but this is a whole different conversation. Most likely you do have one. Go to their website and you will be able to find that information. Now, all you're really looking for is immigrant visas. Not non-immigrant visas, but immigrant visas. So I need a US visa, so let's go here. It seems like one of the things that we need. And let's see, immigrate. Yep, that's what we need. So let's go to immigrate. And here you go, we got the travelstate.gov, and it gives us an option, immigrate, family-based. Yes, this is what we're doing. It's a family-based immigration. And there we go. So now it gives you kind of a brief overview of who is able to sponsor who, and then if you click on begin your family-based immigrant visa process here, it will give you the same exact thing that I have opened, which is very, very helpful, I have to say. I'll put the link in the description below. But like I said, most of the times you don't have to worry about scheduling an appointment at all. Once the NVC approves all of your documents, all the submitted documents, they will themselves schedule, they will transfer your case to the local US embassy in your country, in your home country. Well, not your home country, but the country of the beneficiary, right? Who you're sponsoring. Whether it is your wife, husband, your kids, your parents, your brothers, sisters, right? Depending on which category. In their home country, which is most likely your home country as well, but whatever, you get the point. They go through all the medical examinations beforehand, but usually U.S. embassy, they schedule date themselves. All right, you don't have to go and schedule an appointment like you would for non-immigrant visas. Now, this is not 100% of the times. I've heard of a few out of hundreds of cases. I've heard a few cases where a person actually had to schedule that interview themselves for the available date, but it's very, very rare. Most of the times they give you the date themselves. All right, so you have the date, let's say February 4th, let's stick to the example, in the Philippines. All right, U.S. embassy, you're a parent and your son invited you to come here into the United States, and you're in the Philippines and you're the father. Okay, your interview is scheduled for February 4th. So now you have to go through that medical examination. Schedule it as soon as possible. With that email for the interview, they will also get you yourself, if not you, but most likely the son who applied for you, who is your sponsor, will get the list of all the approved clinics like hospitals, approved doctors, approved physicians who are authorized by the US government to perform that medical examination that is sufficient enough for that immigrant visa. Get it done as soon as possible. I think I'm repeating myself the third time, but it's very, very important. The reason why I'm repeating it several times is because I have actually seen cases where this medical examination was done like 5 days before the interview, and the person went, and it was her, and she was denied a visa because U.S. embassy did not get the results yet from the doctor. You don't want that. Just get it done, at least 2 weeks in advance. Just as much time as possible in advance. But now you have your interview date. You done your medical examination. Everything's good. There are no problems. What do we do for an interview? Okay, finally, 10 minutes later into the video, we're getting into this. All of the documents that have been submitted, and this is the stage: scan, submit documents, civil documents. If you've been on NVC, if you're watching this video, you've probably been in that NVC portal, and you know how it looks and what they expect. all of the tax returns from the sponsor, from you. If you're the sponsor, let's say your father is beneficiary in Philippines, as according to our example. All of your tax returns, financial documents, whatever, bank statements if they requested it, for your father, birth certificates, the criminal history, if there is anything. If there is nothing, then they have to get the police statement that there was never any courts or anything like that. Just all of that civil documents, all of these documents, whatever they are, whatever you have submitted online on NVC, your father will have to bring it, or your beneficiary, whoever, will have to bring it, all of that stuff, especially financial documents, to the interview. Now I know it kind of sounds weird, and it's like, wait, why am I doing this? I already submitted this online. Why do I have to bring it? Guys, this is, if there's one, this is the second. If there are two most important tips, suggestions, advices that I can give you in this video is schedule your medical examination as early as possible. And number two is bring all your documents that you have submitted on NVC, especially the financial documents, because they want to make sure that, there's probably a lot of reasons. One, they want to see the real relationship between the father and the son, well, beneficiary and the sponsor. Two is they want to see the understanding, what the process entails, right? And of course, with the financial documents, they want to see that there's real support, that this guy is not just immigrating into the United States with basically nothing, all right? And they're gonna be like a liability in the United States. And I know it sounds kind of rough, but at the end of the day, that's what it really comes down to. And the reason why I say financial documents is because I've seen, again, cases that when this visa was denied, and it's really sad. You don't want to go for not just a very final stage, really, the interview, because that's, during that interview, they will say, okay, cool, that's it, you're good to go, leave your passport, come back tomorrow, you'll pick it up, your passport with your immigrant visa, which is basically a green card itself. Once you enter the country, once they stamp it, it becomes the permanent residence card, temporary permanent residence card. But I'll probably make a separate video about it, because I get a lot of questions about that as well. But imagine going through all of this, being approved by USAS, being approved by the Department of State, going through all of these medical examinations, all of these document submissions, all of these fees, and then you go to the very final stage where they literally, all they have to say is, hello, let me see all the documents, everything looks good, okay, cool, you got your visa. And you get denied. And it almost sounds like it rarely happens, but trust me guys, it happens more often than not. I've seen it more often than not. People get denied just because they fail to bring the document, or just because they fail to do the medical examination on time. Now, briefly about the interview, again, I can't really speak for consul, U.S. Embassy employees, whoever's going to interview the beneficiary. They can ask whatever comes to their mind. But most of the times, the questions are super basic, super straightforward. Who is the sponsor? What is the relationship with the sponsor? They want to make sure that the relationship is real. They want to make sure they know where you are going. They will ask, well, if you are the beneficiary in this example, they will ask you on the interview where you're going to live, what are your plans, what are you going to do, are you, basic stuff like this. Really, really basic. Nothing too complicated, nothing to kind of catch you or kind of ruin or test your intentions of coming to the United States. The reason why I'm saying it is because sometimes they do it during non-immigrant visa interviews. They want to test you, they want to see if you are intending to come here and work, under the books or something like that, or maybe you're trying to get the non-immigrant visa to come to the United States and actually stay here and immigrate through, other ways, through other, starting an immigration process, and you're just not, telling it during the interview. It happens, obviously. But that's not the case during the immigrant interview, because during the immigrant visa interview, they already know your intentions to immigrate. You already been through everything, you submitted all the documents. All you have to do is just show that, yes, I do understand all of it. Here are all the documents. Here's the tax statements of my sponsor, right? I understand what this is. I took my due diligence, I did my due diligence of learning about it. So when I actually go there, immigrate there, I will know that, okay, when I work in the United States, I have to pay taxes and all. Basic understanding what you're doing, where you're going, and really that's really pretty much it. Again, after the interview, these steps are kind of separating the two, but really it should be one. Once you pass the interview, once everything is good, they'll tell you to leave the passport and then come back tomorrow or 2 days, 3 days later, pick up the passport with your it's still a visa, it's still an immigrant visa, but once you come in to the United States with that visa, once it is stamped in the airport, it automatically becomes the temporary permanent residence card. And I will talk about that process later, what happens after you come here in the next video. So let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. I will be happy to answer. If something was not as understandable, something was confusing, let me know in the comments below, and again I'll try to answer that. I do videos, I try to do them at least once a month, sometimes more often than that, just going through all of the comments and answering the questions. These videos, I think they're called Answering Your Immigration Related Questions. I think I have 9 volumes so far on this channel. Check them out because you might find some answers in those videos as well. So as always, thank you for watching. Appreciate your time, appreciate all your support that gets this channel going. God bless you all, and I'll see you in the next video.